The sun rose gently over Rajagaya, casting its warm light across the bamboo forest. The Buddha sat in serene stillness. His disciples gathered around him, eager for the morning's teaching. In his hands, the Buddha held an empty alms bowl. The bowl gleamed softly, polished by countless journeys through the villages. The Buddha raised the bowl, allowing the sunlight to dance upon its surface. Disciples, observe this bowl closely, he began. His voice carried the weight of compassion and timeless wisdom. The disciples leaned forward, their eyes fixed upon the object in his hands. Ananda, ever eager, spoke first. Master, the bowl is empty, ready to receive, he said with reverence. The Buddha smiled at Ananda's observation. Indeed, it is empty, the Buddha replied. What does emptiness teach us about the nature of our own minds? Sariputta, wise and thoughtful, considered his master's words. When the mind is empty, it is open to learning and understanding, Sariputta offered. The Buddha nodded in agreement, his eyes shining with approval. Yes, Sariputta, an empty mind is like fertile soil, ready to nurture wisdom and compassion, he said. He placed the bowl gently on the ground before him. But what happens when the bowl is filled with stagnant water? The Buddha asked. Mahakassapa, seated nearby, responded after a moment's thought. Master, stagnant water clouds the bowl and taints anything it holds, Mahakassapa answered. The Buddha's gaze swept across his disciples as he continued. Exactly, Mahakassapa, a mind cluttered with attachments, aversions, and delusions is like a bowl filled with stagnation. His words resonated deeply, carried by the stillness of the morning. The Buddha then recounted the story of a farmer weighed down by his possessions. This man sought peace, yet clung tightly to his fields, his cattle, and his wealth. The Buddha began. He came to me, his heart heavy with sorrow and dissatisfaction. The disciples listened intently, hanging on every word. I told him to let go of what he could not carry within himself, the Buddha said. Only then did he find the peace he sought. He picked up the bowl again, holding it before his disciples. To receive wisdom, we must first let go of what burdens us, the Buddha instructed. What burdens do you carry in your minds, disciples? He asked, his tone gentle yet probing. Each disciple looked inward, reflecting on the attachments that weighed upon them. Fear, desire, and pride, murmured one. Grief, anger, and jealousy, admitted another. The Buddha nodded, his expression one of deep compassion. These burdens cloud the mind and prevent true understanding, he said. He began tracing the rim of the bowl with his finger, the motion hypnotic. Consider Kissagatami, who was consumed by grief for her lost child, the Buddha said. Her suffering was profound, yet it opened her heart to a universal truth. She sought a mustard seed from a household untouched by death, the Buddha continued. In her search, she found no home free of suffering. The disciples listened, moved by Kissagatami's journey. She realized that suffering binds all beings, like threads in a great web of existence, the Buddha explained. By letting go of her grief, Kissagatami embraced the truth and found liberation. The Buddha's hand stilled, and he placed the bowl once more upon the ground. When we let go, we create space for wisdom and compassion to flow, he said. But letting go does not mean rejecting life's experiences, the Buddha clarified. It means understanding their impermanent nature and releasing our grasp upon them. He turned his gaze to the horizon, where the first signs of spring flowers emerged. Just as the seasons change, so too must we accept the changing nature of all things, the Buddha said. Attachment to the unchanging creates suffering, like holding on to water that slips through our fingers. The disciples remained silent, absorbing the profundity of the Buddha's words. The Buddha looked at Ananda, who seemed deep in thought. Ananda, What have you learned from the empty bowl? The Buddha asked gently. Ananda met his master's eyes and spoke earnestly. I have learned that to grow, I must release my attachments and empty my mind of unnecessary burdens, he said. The Buddha's face softened into a warm smile. Well said, Ananda. Emptiness is not absence, but readiness, the Buddha affirmed. The gentle rustling of bamboo leaves accompanied the stillness of their reflection. The Buddha continued to speak, his words weaving a tapestry of understanding. A mind unburdened by desire and fear sees the world as it truly is, the Buddha said. It sees suffering not as an obstacle, but as an opportunity to cultivate compassion. He gestured to a bird perched on a nearby branch. Consider the bird, which builds its nest anew each season. Never clinging to the old, the Buddha said. We must also renew our understanding. Free from the chains of the past, the disciples nodded, their faces alight with newfound clarity. The Buddha's teachings resonated, awakening within them a sense of possibility. Remember, disciples, the bowl cannot hold both wisdom and ignorance, the Buddha concluded. Choose what you fill your minds with, for it will shape your journey. The morning sun climbed higher, casting golden light upon the gathering. The Buddha's words lingered in the air, filling the disciples with quiet determination. They rose to their feet, bowing deeply to their master. The lesson of the empty bowl would guide them, a reminder of the transformative power of letting go. Another day, the Buddha and his disciples walked along a winding path toward a tranquil pond at the forest's edge. The air carried the earthy scent of recent rain, and the trees seemed to glisten with life. The disciples followed in quiet contemplation, their hearts attuned to their master's every gesture. Upon reaching the pond, the Buddha paused, his eyes falling upon a single lotus blooming amidst the murky waters. The Buddha turned to his disciples and spoke softly. Observe this lotus. My disciples, he said, his voice serene. The disciples gathered around the pond, their eyes fixed upon the radiant flower. What do you see in this lotus? The Buddha asked, his gaze sweeping across their faces. Sariputta, ever observant, answered first. Master, it is beautiful and pure. Rising above the muddy waters, Sariputta said with reverence. The Buddha smiled gently and nodded. Yes, Sariputta, the Buddha replied. The lotus grows in the mud, yet its petals remain untainted and pristine. His words carried the weight of profound insight, and the disciples listened intently. This lotus is like the human spirit, the Buddha continued. To embrace the flow of life is to recognize the impermanence of all things and the interconnectedness of existence, he added. Sujata placed her hand over her heart, the Buddha's words resonating deeply as she reflected on her own fears and attachments. The Buddha knelt by the edge of the pond, his hand lightly touching the water's surface. Consider this water, he said. When it is disturbed, the mud rises, clouding its clarity. The disciples watched as the ripples spread, carrying particles of silt throughout the water. Our minds are like this pond, the Buddha explained. When agitated, they become clouded, and truth becomes difficult to see. The disciples nodded, recognizing the truth in his words. Now, let the water settle, the Buddha said. Withdrawing his hand, the ripples gradually subsided, and the pond grew still. In stillness, the mud sinks, and the water becomes clear once more, the Buddha said. Likewise, a still and calm mind allows wisdom to emerge. The disciples absorbed the lesson, their minds echoing with the simplicity and depth of the teaching. The Buddha rose and gestured toward the lotus again. The lotus thrives in the mud, yet it draws strength from its roots, the Buddha said. Even in challenging circumstances, we can find nourishment for growth. He turned to his disciples and asked, what mud surrounds your lives? And how can you rise above it? The disciples looked inward, each pondering the obstacles that clouded their minds and hindered their progress. Ananda, after a long silence, spoke with a voice full of conviction. "Master, the mud of fear and doubt often clings to my thoughts," Ananda confessed. The Buddha's gaze softened as he addressed his devoted disciple. "Ananda, fear and doubt are natural, but they do not define you," the Buddha said. "Like the lotus, you can rise above them." The Buddha shared a tale of a merchant weighed down by mistrust and greed. This man hoarded his wealth, fearing loss, and distrusted all who approached him. The Buddha began. His greed and fear consumed him, isolating him from those who wished to help. The disciples listened, their attention unwavering. One day, he chose to let go, sharing his wealth with those in need. The Buddha continued. In his generosity, he found liberation and joy. The Buddha's story left the disciples in thoughtful silence. The pond's surface mirrored the sky, a symbol of clarity and openness. "Disciples, the mud of suffering need not imprison us," the Buddha said. "It can be the very foundation of our transformation." The disciples bowed their heads, humbled by the profound teaching. The Buddha sat upon a rock by the pond, his presence radiating peace. "Do not resent the mud, for it plays its role in our growth," the Buddha advised. "Without it, the lotus cannot bloom." He gestured to the trees surrounding them, their roots deep within the earth. "Even the tallest tree draws its strength from the soil," the Buddha said. "Our challenges, too, can strengthen us if we face them with courage and compassion." The disciples nodded, their hearts stirred by the wisdom of their master's words. The Buddha gazed upon the lotus one final time. "The lotus remains unstained because it does not cling to the mud," the Buddha said. "Let go of what holds you back, and you too will remain unstained." The gentle breeze carried his words across the pond, rippling through the hearts of his disciples. The Buddha stood and began to walk along the pond's edge, the disciples following silently. The lesson of the lotus lingered in their minds, a reminder of the beauty of rising above. As they departed, the pond remained still, its surface reflecting the image of the lotus, a beacon of hope and purity. Another day, the Buddha stood before a great bronze bell atop Vulture Peak, its surface shimmering under the morning sun. The disciples gathered around, their eyes fixed on the bell, curious about the lesson awaiting them. The Buddha gently struck the bell with a mallet, producing a deep, resonant sound that echoed across the valley. "Listen closely, disciples," the Buddha said, his voice calm and deliberate. The sound lingered in the air, fading gradually into silence, leaving a profound stillness behind. The Buddha turned to his disciples and asked, "What do you hear in the sound of the bell?" Ananda, ever reflective, responded, "Master, the sound is strong and beautiful, and its echoes seem to stretch endlessly." The Buddha nodded, a faint smile on his lips. "Yes, Ananda, the bell's sound begins with the strike, but its echoes touch the farthest reaches of existence." He turned his gaze toward the horizon, where the mist slowly dissolved into the morning light. "Every action we take, like the strike of the bell, creates echoes in the fabric of existence," the Buddha explained. "These echoes, though unseen, ripple outward, affecting countless lives and shaping the world." The disciples exchanged glances, pondering the weight of their actions and the ripples they might create. The Buddha struck the bell once more, the vibrations resonating deep within the disciples' hearts. "Consider Angulimala, a man once consumed by hatred and violence," the Buddha began. His actions reverberated with fear and suffering, spreading pain wherever he went. The disciples listened intently, familiar with the tale of the reformed bandit. Yet, with one act of compassion, his path changed, and his echoes became those of peace and healing. The Buddha gestured toward the bell, its surface etched with intricate symbols of wisdom and harmony. Just as the bell's design influences its sound, Our intentions shape the echoes of our actions, he said. What intentions do you carry? And what echoes will they create in the lives of others? The disciples reflected deeply, examining their hearts for the motivations guiding their actions. Sariputta, wise and introspective, spoke after a moment of silence. Master, I strive to act with kindness and understanding, though I sometimes falter in moments of anger or impatience, Sariputta admitted. The Buddha's gaze softened as he addressed his disciple. Sariputta, it is natural to falter, for we are all bound by imperfections, the Buddha said. What matters is the effort to align your actions with compassion and wisdom. The Buddha turned his attention to the bell once more, his fingers lightly tracing its smooth surface. Even the faintest sound of the bell carries meaning, as does every small act of kindness, he said. Never underestimate the power of a single compassionate gesture, for it can resonate far beyond what you imagine. The disciples nodded, their hearts stirred by the simplicity and depth of the teaching. The Buddha shared another story, this time of a poor widow who offered her last morsel of food to a hungry traveler. Her act of generosity, though small, spread ripples of gratitude and inspired others to give what they could, the Buddha said. In her selflessness, she created echoes that uplifted her community and brought joy to many. The disciples listened, moved by the profound impact of seemingly modest actions. The Buddha struck the bell a final time, its sound carrying across the peak like a sacred chant. Each strike of the bell is like a moment in our lives, brief yet powerful in its resonance, the Buddha said. How will you use your moments to create echoes that benefit the world? The disciples bowed their heads, silently vowing to be mindful of their actions and the intentions behind them. The Buddha turned toward the valley below, his silhouette framed by the golden light of the rising sun. The echoes of the bell fade into silence, but their essence lingers in the hearts of those who hear, he said. Our actions, too, may be forgotten, but their impact endures in ways we cannot always see. The disciples remained still, their minds echoing with the teachings of their master. As the morning progressed, the disciples began their descent from Vulture Peak, each step taken with newfound awareness. The lesson of the bell resonated within them, a reminder of the enduring power of intention and action. The Buddha watched them go, his heart filled with compassion, knowing the ripples of his teachings would spread far and wide. Thank you for watching. Buddha's teachings are always with you. Subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next video.